Good evening, everyone. Come on into the room and join us for this wonderful, it's going to be super exciting edition of Live Well Sister. So I am so looking forward to having a chance to chat with you again. And come on in so we can get started here shortly. So for those of you all who may not know me, my name is Marcie Thomas. I'm the founder of Brown Girl Collective and Live Well Sister, which is a space for women to learn more about how to live their best possible lives, whether it be with their spiritual life or their physical health. Are we living our purpose? Is our money right? Just all these different areas that I feel is important for us as Black women to not only be surviving, but thriving. So Live Well Sister is what this space is all about. So please, as you come in the room, whether this is your first time here or you've been here several times, just let us know that you're here, where you're joining us from, and we're going to get started here in just a moment. So I'm super excited about this guest tonight because, as I was saying to her in the Brown Room, because it's the Brown Room since it's Brown Girl Collective, I have really been following her for a while and enjoying her work. And so many of the things that she speaks to in this book are parallel to what Live Well Sister is all about. So for this evening, we will have with us Oludara Adeeyo, who's based in Los Angeles and works as a psychiatric social worker, where she assists individuals who are experiencing homelessness, substance issues, and severe persistent mental illnesses. She is a registered associate clinical worker for the state of California and is passionate about helping people improve their overall well-being, especially Black women. However, before becoming a psychiatric social worker, she spent 7+ years working as a writer and editor and has been an associate web editor at Cosmopolitan and the managing editor at XXL. So without any further delay, let's bring this lovely woman into the room to talk about her book. Welcome, Dara.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And what we're going to be talking about, in case you don't know what you clicked on, tonight we'll be talking about her new book, Self-Care for Black Women, which is extremely important. So thank you. Thank you. So what was it that kind of led you towards, well, number one, you changed careers. So I know there's a story behind that.
Yes.
But in doing so, what was it that led you into this self-care and healing space, Dara?
Yeah, it was a long journey. So I went to undergrad and I studied print journalism, and I had every intention of becoming a magazine editor. I wanted to write, I wanted to work at 17 magazine. I wanted to be able to write stories and connect with young women readers through that avenue. But as I got in the industry, I quickly realized that I wasn't really going to be able to do that. And also it just wasn't the best industry for me because working in the media industry is very, very exhausting. And, when I worked at Cosmo, it was like 24-hour news cycle sometimes, and because I worked on the website, we were just kind of figuring out how to do news stories online. And so it just felt like I was writing like 10 articles a week or a day. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It was like I was writing a lot. And also I was experiencing some workplace discrimination, which I didn't really realize was workplace discrimination until, almost like 10 years later when I like processed it with a therapist. And so I worked at Cosmo from like 2011, 2013, or 2014, early 2014. And during that time, I was also my mom's caregiver, and she was sick with rheumatoid arthritis. And at the time, I began to see that like she never really took care of herself. And I began to reflect on my own skills of taking care of myself. And I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I had to start taking care of myself. It's a very common uterine, syndrome for a lot of women, and it has many various symptoms. So for me, I had become anemic, and I just had to find a way to like start taking care of myself, and getting my iron levels up uh, naturally and with supplements. So basically, I had to start taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom unfortunately passed away at the end of 2013. And so then I kind of fell into a bit of a depression, but I ignored it by diving deeper into like my church work, and
Mm-hmm.
just trying to find other jobs because I had also left Cosmo at that time. And then I stumbled into working at Double XL, and it's a hip hop magazine. I never necessarily wanted to work in music, but
Mm.
um, I studied journalism, and so I
Right.
was like, this is it's not an issue. So, but I quickly learned, like, you know what? I don't like this industry.
Mm.
A lot of media is definitely one industry that's a lot of high strung, fast paced. It's the work environments are very toxic. It's a lot of work. You work like 12-hour days sometimes, and it just was a lot. And I truly value a balanced life, or a
Absolutely.
life that just encourages wellness. And it just became to the point where I was just like, this is becoming my whole life, and I'm not enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the people I work with, were encouraging the workspace to be your whole life. And yeah, after one really nasty meeting, I just was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not dealing with someone yelling at me. I'm not doing this. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. But I had a circle of friends who, some of them were getting their second degrees, and um, some of them were like, well, what do you feel like you want to do? And like, I was like, maybe I want to do teaching. Then I was also like, well, I am really interested in like mental health and psychology. So I was teetering between going back to school to maybe get like a PhD, or something else. And a friend was like, well, why don't you like look at social work? And I was like, that doesn't sound like my avenue. She's like, no, like look into it. It's mental health. You can, and it makes sense for you.
Right.
Um, and so, it's really helpful when you have friends who know you better than you sometimes.
Mm.
And so I just went down this rabbit hole of researching social work and researching what I could do. And yeah, I basically looked at USC, University of Southern California. I was like, you know what? I was living on the East Coast at the time, New
Oh, okay.
Jersey. And I was like, well, maybe I am ready to move. I was just like, I never thought of that. So I looked at USC. I went to visit the school. I fell in love with Los Angeles. I applied. I got in. They gave me a scholarship. And then once I got that scholarship, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
supposed to.
that was it. That was just what you needed.
Exactly. That was the extra push I needed. Because if I didn't get that scholarship, I was like gonna be like, okay, well then I guess I'll just figure something else out. But so once I got to Los Angeles and I was able to start my program, I was really able to kind of dive into self-care. And there's something that happens when you're able to kind of remove yourself from a space that you've been in your whole life. So I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in New Jersey, New York, so it was like when you remove yourself, when you separate, sometimes you can elevate. And it's like I
Mm.
was finally able to just like have time for myself, and really figure out, what do I want, what do I like.
Right.
And so I really began my self-care journey as I entered my master's program. And while I was working my master's program, I went into it really with the focus of wanting to focus on Black women and Black mental health.
Right.
And every chance I got in my class programs, I was reading research on Black women and Black people and our mental health and our wellness. So I mean, when I got out of school and I'm working as a social worker, and I'm working, in my field, it just kind of all made sense that when Simon and Schuster approached me to write this book, it was just like my two worlds were able to collide. So
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I was thinking when I was, reading about you. I'm like, well, okay, so she's back into writing, but it's a different thing versus that hectic schedule that you just
yeah.
shared. Shared there. So I mean that says a lot in and of itself. And I mean, just was a couple of things you said in that, and then we'll get into more of the things that are specifically in the book. But one of the things you do mention in the book is the thing of moving away and going into a new space, that
Yeah.
sometimes that's what we have to do
Yeah.
in order to find ourselves and to get, to become all that we're supposed to be. Because there can be something about remaining in that space that can
You-
keep you stuck depending on what's happening around.
Yeah, and especially for me, I was living with my dad at the time. And so it was like I was living at home, and there are those dynamics when you live at home, even if you're an adult, there's like parent-child dynamics. And those environments can feel oppressive. So, and you feel like you're suppressing who you are. So like, yeah, definitely when I moved, and even one of my friends, she was just like, you're probably going to have time to really just figure out what you like. And, for the longest time, I didn't really think I liked hikes, but then I came to LA and now I love hikes, so it's just like, exactly, when you separate yourself, you can really just have all this time to process your own self, which I feel like is at the core of the book, in the sense of like, it's encouraging Black women to kind of just tap into their own selves and trust their own selves and put their own selves first. And yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one of the in the introduction, you talk about choosing yourself. So the book is definitely about finding ways to choose yourself.
Yes.
One of the other things about the book that I really love is that a lot of times when you hear self-care thrown around, it's thrown around in such a way is that it's all about getting your nails done, which I just got mine done, getting massages, things like that, which those things are included.
Yeah.
Those things are important. But what I really love is that you do talk about why it's important for us to have self-care, number one. Also, that there are things included in this book that anyone can access, because everyone can't go get their nails done. Everyone can't go get a massage all the time. But this book with the 150 ways really speaks to a variety of ways that we can practice self-care. So you mentioned radical self-care. What exactly does that mean to you?
Right.
Self-care.
Yeah. Radical self-care, I mean, self-care is such a buzzy word. And, I know when people hear it, like you said, they do think, well, okay, just bubble baths, nails, massages, right? Well, radical self-care is, it's preventative care, and versus it being aftercare, which is like what happens after we've been distressed. Radical self-care allows you to kind of maintain a steady level of peace and calmness, and also kind of be ready to handle whatever you need. But so it's all about just putting yourself first, and it's all about putting everything you need before anyone else's, and anyone else's, and anything at all. Because it's like, as Black women, we're often taught like what we want does not matter. We're often taught our own experiences are not real. And so when you practice radical self-care, you're simply deciding that I'm going to put boundaries in place for me to be able to create space for myself. I'm going to make sure I am well taken care of so I can help take care of others if I need to, or be present for others if I need to. So yeah.
Right. And you and I talked about this a little bit because it's hot right now, but just the fact that you also talk about the fact that another reason why it's important for us is because we are dealing with race-based traumatic stress. And we're seeing that a lot right now with what's going on with Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of people, talking about the way she's being treated.
Yep.
And, I will admit, I am one who I can't watch it because
I can't watch it either.
What's going on pisses me off, so I know I don't need to watch it.
Right.
I just put the highlights and see what's happening.
Exactly. It's like reliving countless meetings, interactions you've been in. It's like, why I don't want to torture myself.
Right.
I mean, it's historic, right? But
Absolutely.
it's like, I can't.
Exactly.
I can't watch this absolutely dynamic, smart, overqualified woman answer these asinine questions that literally don't make any sense, but are simply just to like knock her off whatever peg they feel like she doesn't belong on. So, but we've all experienced that, right?
Right. And that, speaks to the race-based traumatic stress.
Yes.
Whether it is, microaggressions, macroaggressions, the things that are happening in the news and all of that. So, those are the reasons why it is important for us to learn how to practice radical self-care.
Yeah, I know. And race-based stress, I feel like, that's something that a lot of us have to really discover for ourselves, and also realize that we do go through that. Because when a common trauma response, I feel like for a lot of Black people, is kind of just to like freeze and ignore what's going on, in the sense that we don't necessarily want to deal with what we're dealing with, what we're experiencing, because it is tough. And sometimes you make certain decisions just to protect yourself, which again, that is a trauma response. And with race-based traumatic stress, it's just saying that like experiencing microaggressions and discrimination and prejudice, prejudice is just like, it's literally killing you, because it's causing so much stress that it's causing all these other health issues. So.
Absolutely. And misogynoir, and things that we deal with even within our own community sometimes. Yes, that we need these different ways to, manage. So in the book, you talk about 3 specific areas that we can focus on when it comes to our self-care. As I told you before, I wrote down things that the areas that I'm good at and the ones that I'm not so good at. And these are things that would, it's not just about me, but I'm being the guinea pig today.
And I'll be a guinea pig too.
Right. Some of the things that you talk about in the book. So tell us what the 3 areas are, and then we'll kind of get into them and go through some of what they're about.
Yeah. So it's mind, body, and soul. Mind is the area that kind of focuses on your mental health, your mental state. Body is really all about physical, how things manifest for you physically, and what you can do to kind of get yourself moving. Because sometimes when you need to take care of yourself, sometimes it's better to let that out through your body. And movement is exceptional self-care. And then soul, which is one of my favorites because I'm a very spiritual person, is that it's really for your well-being, on your inner being. It connects you to the world and people around you. So that section really focuses on things that can keep you grounded and connect you to, the collective sisterhood, the collective community.
Right. And we're all about a collective here. Collective. So that's what it's all about. So I know I had mentioned earlier that there is a giveaway. I'm just going to tell you what it's going to be now. I have 3 copies of the book I'm going to give away throughout this. So as we talk about each area, mind, body, soul, after each one, you'll have an opportunity to get selected to win a copy of the book. How you will win the book, I need you to type in the comments, live well sister, hashtag, let me be clear, hashtag live well sister. Put that in the comments. And then when I go to pick the names, it's going to be an automated thing that allows you to potentially win a copy of the book. So you can go ahead and start dropping that in the comments now as we're talking, but just know that those actual giveaways are forthcoming. So, mind. As I was reading this part, I would say of the 3 areas, you and I kind of talked about this before. Body is probably my worst area. Mind, I'm pretty good there. Soul, I know I'm very good when it comes to soul type things, but the mind is kind of in between. One of the things, and I've already kind of mentioned this before, is to one of the things that I am good at is not taking in a lot of black trauma entertainment
Yeah,
and
so
or news. So
mhm.
talk about why that's important for us
Oh yeah.
care method.
Yeah, I definitely do not. I'm with you. I don't consume a lot of black trauma. I mean, my day job is very traumatic. I deal with a lot of
Mm,
people's trauma. So I generally, once I'm off the clock, I like to have fun and focus on other things. And also, black trauma entertainment feels like it's not necessarily for us. And I
mm,
don't really like that. It's like you're putting our trauma on us for a spectacle for other people, for white people, for the dominant culture. And I don't really like that. And also when you interact with trauma, I can think of that there was a show on Amazon called Them that was
mm,
basically based on like redlining.
mm,
And I was just like, why are, I mean, I know there's more to it, but to me, I'm like, that's a real thing that happened and still impacts the way communities are built. Um, I don't want to see that. So when you interact with things like that, your mind doesn't really know the difference between a fake or real threat.
mm.
So when you interact with that, it's almost like you're experiencing the actual traumatic event for yourself. So yeah, it's no. There's vicarious trauma, which we'd call that vicarious trauma, where you're
Okay.
kind of experiencing it through someone else or something else. So it's a no for me.
Right. Right. And that's why I kind of lump that together with the news. 'Cause, my mother and I have this conversation a lot. It's like I watch enough news to just kind of, know, okay,
Mhm.
I just enough for me to be, aware, but not
Yeah,
so much that it's going to put me in a negative space.
exactly,
You know,
exactly, exactly.
because it can. I mean, it's good to be
Mhm.
aware. We do need to be aware.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
do.
never say that we shouldn't
Mhm.
be, but in a way that doesn't cause us to take on so much of what is happening around us.
Yeah, I agree.
hmm One of the other things I would say that I'm good at and that you have here is doing nothing for 20 minutes or more.
Mm. It's a good one, especially if you had a long day.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just need. My favorite thing used to be like, when you get home in your car, you just sit in your car for like 20 minutes, even before you
Mhm.
get in the house, so you don't have to interact with anyone. Before you interact with anyone, it's like a nice peace and quiet. Um, it's nice because it can like really help you decompress from your day and just focus centering on you. And I consider that a mindfulness activity. And mindfulness activities are things that kind of help your brain just shift things away and really focus in on yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, we have a question here. Hold on, let me put this up so we can see it. Isabel, thank you for your book. A question about race-based trauma. Is it possible not to experience microaggressions at work? I'm trying to find out if it's my workplace that's hard or this. Oh, okay. So is it the workplace is hard, or is it that there
Right.
is
It could
are
be
other
both.
things going on? Microaggressions. Thank you
Yeah.
for the question, Isabel.
Okay. Is it possible not experience? I mean, I'm gonna say no. I'm saying I'm not. I don't know your workspace, but workspaces do mimic structure of just you know by culture. It it's most likely you are experiencing microaggressions. And I'm gonna say if you feel like you are experiencing microaggressions, then you are. Because what happens a lot as Black women, we like to invalidate our experiences and try to push it off as something else because we don't want to play the race card or whatever. But no, it's okay to play the race card because I mean you're Black. And people have implicit bias and can't deny it. But it could be that because you're experiencing microaggressions that you feel like the job is hard and it is impacting your mental health, or it could be both. But I would encourage you to really you know uh I guess, evaluate what you think it is, and don't try to minimize what you think it is. Trust
Mhm.
yourself.
Right. And I know that's one of the things here in the book about trusting your gut or trusting your instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, if you feel it,
It's it.
that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
other people will try to tell you, oh, that's not it, especially depending on who you're talking to. Oh, that's not it. Or you're just making it that. Or why does everything always have to be, race? Because sometimes it is.
It is. And also, when we don't live in a racist society, then it won't be about race, but we do.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I work in a space that I have my day job that I can't necessarily say I don't experience microaggressions in the ways that some people may think they show up, like in terms of
Mhm.
people saying certain things to you or whatever. For me, I feel the microaggressions
Mhm.
in the space that when it comes to looking at who are the top people, who are the leaders, who
Mhm.
are the go-to people, who are the people that get all the opportunities, they don't look like me.
Mm.
And so, even though there might not be anybody, saying crazy things to me or
Right.
trying to touch my hair or whatever, they
No.
may not be doing that.
Mhm.
For me personally, it shows up in a different way.
Right. And that's good for you to notice that. And yeah, it is true. If you don't see a lot of people who look like you at the top, then often that's usually not a space that you can, move up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, those things can show up in a lot of different ways. Once again, everybody, hashtag live well sister. I need to see it in the comments because when I do this here in a few minutes, that's the only way you can win a copy of the book. And there are 3. So
Yeah.
go ahead. We'll do that here in a few minutes. And if nobody does it, then that's 3 more books for me. So the one of the others that I would say, well, one of the ones I feel that let me back up. I'm not currently seeing her, but I do and have had on a couple of different occasions a Black woman therapist. For those of us who choose to seek therapy or therapeutic services as a Black woman, how important do you feel that it is that we have someone who looks like us to assist us?
Yeah. I definitely feel like it's important, and I have friends who say they haven't had success, but I feel like it is very important to have someone who looks like you, who has been through your experiences, and can also offer insight, right? But I mean, also like all Black women, we are not the same, right? So like, just because she's Black doesn't necessarily mean she's gonna really understand maybe some of your experiences, but you want to find someone who is open to learning your experiences, but also can relate to some of the things you've gone through, and also provide other insight. So I think it's very important. I have a Black therapist, and we've been together, working together for like maybe 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. So, and she's much older, so it's almost like she offers like a motherly role as well, but not really because she's my therapist. But it's very helpful, because also, when you work with someone who looks like you, they when they go through the similar experiences as you, they offer a different way to look at something, and can also validate you in your
Mhm.
experiences, where you may try to be like, oh well, I don't know, this thing I went through, I don't think it was racist or sexist or whatever. And they can help you be like, no, okay, let's really look at this and dive through all the things you've gone through, and just really identify and help you. So I think it's very important. I always advocate for it, but I also understand why some people may be apprehensive to even go to therapy, especially in the Black community, because
Right.
we don't want to tell people our business, and other things like that. But it's important to have a space for you that is not linked to like friends or family. It's a neutral space that you create with a licensed professional who can offer you just this room where you can really, begin to listen to yourself again and get back to who you are. So, yeah, I love therapy.
Absolutely, and so do I. I'm not right now. I am not, but I look to go back. And one of the things, just a couple things, and I know that but you can definitely piggyback on what I'm about to say. Number one, go to different people to figure out. It might not be the first person that you meet, and sometimes I have found that as some of my situations change or pivot, sometimes you may have to pivot with the person that you're talking to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what I feel like therapy gives you the confidence to like listen to those type of decisions and listen to yourself about that. And like, my therapist and I, we were once a week. And then once the pandemic started and everything started rolling in and it was just getting very stressful, I was like, we need to go to, twice every 2 weeks or something like that, because I can't talk to you every week. I need time away, because it's like you're talking and you're doing all these things and there's a lot of thinking. And if you're active in therapy and you're really diving through all your issues, it can be exhausting. So it's okay to take a break. And if there's a different type of therapy you want to do, then you can seek out a therapist who specializes in something else. So, yeah.
Good job. Thank you so much. Now, the things in terms of mine that I'm not always good at, and actually, if you've been following Live Well Sister for a minute, then you will have heard me talk about this before. Taking deep breaths. And actually, that's the first thing you have in the book. The first one under mind is just to...
It's so good. It's so important to just breathe, because sometimes we forget to just take a breath. And breathing exercises can really slow down your nervous system and help you get relaxed. I do them when I find myself getting worked up in the middle of the workday. I'll notice that I'm holding my breath a little bit more. And I'll just, take a quick minute to like breathe in and out. And I practice yoga, and like in the yoga practice, you're supposed to pay attention to your breath and try to keep it steady. So yes, take a deep breath.
Right. Another one that I can sometimes struggle with is setting boundaries with myself.
I can relate to that. Yeah, it is hard to set boundaries with yourself sometimes. Well, boundaries are for you. They're how you, can protect yourself from, whatever, people, things, spaces, etc. And when it comes to creating boundaries, I feel like Black women, we need to practice them more. And sometimes we don't want to because we'll feel bad, one, about other people's feelings. And also, we love to overextend ourselves as Black women. I feel like we're turning a new page, though, this century or this generation. We're kind of like, no, we're stepping back. But definitely, like, I feel like we love to overextend ourselves because we're always told that we have to work twice as hard to get half as far. So it's very natural that we want to just do all the things we can. But it's important to create those boundaries so you don't burn out.
So, what does setting a boundary for yourself look like for those who don't know? An example, because we know about, telling people no, or, things like that. But when it comes to doing it for yourself, what does that really look like for those who don't know?
That's a good question. Let's see. Well, you know what? Let's see, a boundary for myself might be, it could depend. It could depend on so many things, on like what you're working on. But I would say, what's the recent boundary I set for myself? It could be something as simple as like not checking your phone after 9, not jumping at the first, like when someone at work asks for help, not being the first one to jump up and ask for help. I think with creating boundaries with yourself is also knowing your limits and knowing when you have a tendency to give too much to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I've definitely, like, if I've ever felt like I'm overwhelmed, and I'm a natural person who likes to respond to texts right away. I'm just a very quick responder. But I've created a boundary myself where it's like, okay, if I'm not feeling too well, that I just don't need to respond, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it can vary.
All right. I just thought it would be good to give people an example. Well, what does it mean? I can do whatever I want to do because it's me.
Right.
But
Mhm.
sometimes,
But
maybe,
sometimes, it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't order takeout because I know I have a
right,
tendency to
right, exactly,
overspend or whatever. Like,
right, right.
Uh,
And the last one, and this is a biggie. Letting go of imposter syndrome. That is one of the things that we should do, but oftentimes we struggle
mm,
with. And, I
yeah,
will.
we really do. Um, and I think, well, with imposter syndrome, it's the constant feeling of like you don't belong in that space, or that you aren't worthy of whatever has been given to you or whatever accomplishments you've made. And I feel like that's an ongoing practice and often involves many strategies, from having a circle of friends who constantly speak life into you, to you making note of your wins to keep yourself on track, to practicing self-talk and affirmations to kind of, reiterate to yourself that you do belong where you are, you do deserve everything that is coming to you, and so forth. So um, it's hard though, because we enter a lot of spaces where people, will make it known that we don't belong.
Mm, yes, yes. Make light of the things that we're doing, and then we
Mhm.
start to question, well, yeah, so that
Mhm.
is a thing. So thank you. That is the mind piece.
Mhm.
Those are just a few. As I mentioned, there are 150 in the book, so we can't go over all 150, but these are just a few. Those are
Mhm.
under mind, the mind section. So I am getting ready for the giveaway. I have up there what I need to see in the comments section in order for your name to be entered for a chance to win the book. So I am going to get that set up, and we're going to see who our first winner here is in a moment. So just a second, bear with me while I do that. You got a couple seconds to do it if you haven't already. All right, let me share this out so y'all can see what's going on here. All right, so let's see. It's not letting me draw. Well, it's not coming up, but I did see one name in the box. For some reason, it's not working. Shame on them. But I did see the name in the box. Hold on a second. Get that for you here. I did see the name in the box was actually Isabel. So you will win a copy. You have won a copy of the book.
Mhm.
So we will go ahead and get that out to you. Please send me a message. I'm going to drop that here at the bottom where you can send a message, and I'll make sure that that gets out to you. So
Yay!
congratulations to you, Isabel. Congratulations. So coming up next in the book, we talk about our body. And this is an area where I think a lot of times we may
Mhm.
struggle. A lot of us struggle with knowing what to do or how to manage, our bodies, which we need to work on because that's where we live. We live inside of these beautiful brown bodies, and we need to make sure we're taking good care of them. So personally, one of the areas where I have begun to be really good is taking naps.
Really?
Yes.
I love a nap. I love a nap.
So why do you feel that that's important for us to take more
Um,
naps?
you know, so many reasons, because as Black people we don't rest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we sometimes we can't rest. Sometimes we're made to feel like we can't rest. Well, we're made to feel like, I'm going to say we're made to feel like we can't rest,
Mm-hmm.
just from our ancestors, from those who were enslaved, to just generally. Um, but napping is so important to us because we need to learn how to rest as Black women. We need to learn how to slow down and just, you know, not overwork ourselves into whatever other diseases and sicknesses that can arise from not resting. And resting is good for your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, it's how your body can recover from your day and so forth. So if you can take a nap, take a nap.
Mm-hmm. I have gotten so much better about that. But the challenge that I will have sometimes is I lay down and take a nap. It's supposed to be 20 minutes, and 3 hours later.
Me too.
So that just goes to show you.
Yeah, and then
Um,
it messes up your sleep
it
schedule.
does. It does. Isabel, this is where you can send me shoot me a message, and then I will let you know what information is required for me to get the book out to you. So thank you again, and congratulations again. One of the other areas that that I've gotten better at is eating more plants.
Ooh, that's good. You said you've gotten better at that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm a vegan, or a
Oh.
whole food, plant-based vegan most of the time.
Oh.
Which really just means I tend to eat more fruits, vegetables, legumes, et cetera, et cetera. Because I try to stay away from processed foods. And I put Eat More Plants in the book because I really believe in the gut health, and believe in gut health, and how gut health is linked to our brain health. And science has proved that there is a gut brain axis, which means that there's like neurotransmitters, which are just these little signals that go up to our brain. And I'm sure you've noticed, if you eat a certain foods, you feel different.
Right.
And and it impacts your brain, it can impact your mood. So there's just been a lot of studies lately that have proven that how you eat can also impact how you feel and how you think. So yes, that's why I definitely encourage you eat more plants.
Absolutely. And I have been doing it. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I kind of go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I was a vegetarian for a good while, but I was an unhealthy vegetarian. That's the thing of realizing that just because you may make a change in your diet, you have to make sure, if you're doing it for all of the wonderful benefits,
Right.
do it in a way that's healthy, because not eating meat, but eating fried foods all of the time. fried, anything. If I can fry it, I'm gonna eat it. No, I'm not
Mhm.
eating meat, but I'm eating, or eating sweets all the time. No,
Yeah.
you're not eating meat, but what are you, what are you eating?
Yeah.
So, and that is something, just kind of as, okay, you need the email again. All right, I will do that for you. One of the things is, just trying to do better. And I know that sometimes this is an area that can sometimes be a challenge depending on where people live and what things they have access to.
Right.
So, do the best that you can.
Right.
And
And
just,
it's hard because, a lot of the communities where we see Black and brown bodies or Black and brown people live in is food deserts and places they can't access a grocery or affordable fruits and vegetables. So that's a whole other thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's that's one of the, so many of these areas, can, go into social issues and things of that matter. And that's kind of why I brought up even earlier on, understanding that for some of these things can be a challenge, but we just, do the best that we can with what we have available to us.
Mhm.
That's all that we can really do. One of the others where I have gotten better at, or that I do relatively well at, is creating art. Actually, well, you can't see all of it, but this is
That's
one of
awesome.
my pieces of art. I love to paint, but I realize everyone isn't going to paint per se,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
just talk about what it means just to embrace your creativity, or
Yeah.
finding ways to embrace your creativity is
Mhm.
what that's really all about.
Yeah, I mean, we're all creative beings, and in all varying degrees. But like, when you create art, it gives you a lot of autonomy, a lot of independence. It allows you to feel like you're in control of something, and it's also expression. So you get to kind of just let out whatever's inside of you through whatever avenue you decide to be artistic, whether it's writing, dancing, painting, drawing, sculpting, whatever.
Mhm.
It just allows you to have a way to express yourself. And sometimes you can't really put how you're feeling or what you're going through into words. So sometimes you really just need to have another way to do it if you're not writing.
Right, right. And you do mention writing or journaling. That I believe that fell under the mind piece, but that is a way to kind of get your thoughts and things like that down on paper. So,
Yeah,
right, which is
absolutely.
something for you. Absolutely. Now, one of the areas where I think a lot of us may struggle, speaking of myself, communicating your needs.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, communicating your needs is also, again, is about listening to yourself, getting to know yourself again, and letting go of the fear of, being rejected because you're communicating your needs. And I think it's about talk about it in like relationships and in your workspace, but specifically in relationships, it's important to be able to communicate your needs so those in your life who love you can actually meet those needs. And if they don't know those needs, then they can't get them met. And also, communicating your needs allows you to know what you need and see if you can also get those needs met yourself.
Absolutely. And that is so important. 'Cause what's the saying? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
That's just a saying, but
Mhm.
that's, whatever it is,
Yeah.
when you don't communicate what you need, people can't help you.
Yeah.
Another one that I am challenged with, and I'm sure others probably are right now or the last couple of years because of the pandemic, and that was hugging somebody.
Oh, yeah. Touch, human touch.
Hmm.
That's really it. It's all about human touch, and human touch is healing. So it's important to try to hug someone. And, I wasn't a natural hugger all my life
Hmm.
because I didn't really experience a lot of hugging growing up. But I am African. So,
Oh, okay.
not the biggest huggers, so, it's nice. It's nice to be touched by someone, and it's good for our body. There's been studies that have shown that just hugging someone really, allows certain chemicals in your bodies to be released to help you feel relaxed and loved. So.
Hmm. Yes, so I know, we might have to do it from the side or whatever's going on.
Yeah, right.
We're
With our
still
mask
dealing with
on.
the pandemic, even though things
Mhm.
are changing.
Right,
We are
right.
still in a pandemic, but just figuring out ways, that human touch is important.
Hmm,
That
hmm.
we, yeah. I say the last one. Now, this isn't necessarily me personally, but I do know a lot of people may be challenged with this in our bodies, and that's advocating for our health.
Oh, yes. It's definitely very, very important. It's at the top there, especially for like Black women. We already know the medical system is racist, and, they already think we can take a lot of pain. They ignore our requests. We see that the maternal mortality rates are 3 times higher for Black women than their counterparts. I've seen studies where, women who are from Africa and then they move to America and then they have children, they have issues with having kids,
Mhm.
or they experience the same maternal mortality that Black women who are from America experience. So there's just something about a racist society that really oppresses the way we are able to take care of our health. And it's important to advocate for yourself because your doctors aren't always going to listen to you, and you are the best judgment of your own health. you know your health better than anyone else. And oftentimes, doctors will try to tell you what's wrong with you
Mhm.
but you need to be able to be like, no, I've been experiencing this. And we also see it with like endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids. Black women are, more likely to be diagnosed later because doctors just don't believe us when we say we're in certain pain, or they just don't want to do those procedures to look for what we're talking about, or look to further investigate what kind of pain we're experiencing. So if you need to go get a second opinion, go get a second opinion, second, third, fourth, until you can feel like you've been satisfied. So, and I know it's hard, you know, because we also saw it like in the pandemic. There was a doctor who went viral and died because her own hospital wouldn't give her the proper treatment she needed for COVID.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's something. And, we've seen some high profile things. I'm thinking like Serena Williams, had challenges when she was having her
yeah.
baby and she had to speak up for herself, just so it's not even necessarily a socioeconomic thing. Obviously not.
Mhm.
It is just they look at Black women and they feel like we don't know what we're talking about. So
Exactly.
that we do advocate for our health. And one of the other ones in here, if you can, have a Black doctor. But
Yeah.
but kind of the same thing with a Black therapist, just
Yeah.
making sure that it's the right
The
person,
right one,
the
because they're
right
also
fit.
still in
Right.
that racist
Right.
medical system. And I can speak from experience. I've had some Black doctors where I was just like, well, should have just seen a white doctor. But like, where you just experience something that you're like, wow, okay,
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
a systemic issue. But I've also had some really great Black doctors as well. So it's, again, the same thing. It's making sure that they are the right one for you.
Right. Absolutely. Now, if anyone's interested, I'm going to wait a little while this time, but if you want to be entered to win the book, if this is what I need to see in the comments section, I'm going to skip ahead to give some more people a chance to do that. And, as I said, if you don't, now it's going to be two extra books for me because one is going to Isabel. So, moving on, because also we're getting close to time, so I'll move through this one a little bit quicker. In terms of soul,
Hmm.
and nourishing our soul, I'll just two of the things, I'll just do two this time. One of the things that I believe in and do often is solo travel.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fun. Where's the last place you went to?
Home to see my mom. But I mean, even before that, years ago, I was in the Air Force and stationed in Spain. But while I was
Mhm.
in Spain, I did a lot of travel all throughout European countries and things like that. But in more recent years, I have, taken off and gone, like I'll go away for a weekend just to do sightseeing. Right now, I live in the Atlanta area.
Uh-huh.
Prior to moving to the Atlanta area, there were times when I would come up here and spend a weekend to go to a show or something like that because I enjoy the arts. So I
Yeah.
would come, to do that. Or, I have also say if I'm going to a some type of event, I will usually tag on days before or after.
Hmm.
So if it's a conference, I'll make sure I go a couple of days earlier so I can do sightseeing and things like that and just have the opportunity to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, solo traveling, I guess it's also like similar to what we were talking about earlier about like, being able to like really learn about yourself when
Mhm.
you're by yourself. And also you just get to explore other parts of the world, and explore things beyond your space and your bubble, and it's to expand your soul and connection to just the world. So
Mhm.
yes, I'm a big solo traveler. I love it. I love it. I've been to Mexico by myself. I've been to like other states by myself. I love it.
Mhm.
um and like, and it's, for me it's fun because when
Mhm.
I go to Mexico, and I love that a lot of people don't speak English, so it's like, okay, so I really have to work on my Spanish and get in with the culture. And I'm personally, that's the kind of traveling I like to do. I like to be immersed in the culture.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And for those where travel may not be, available to them right now, sometimes it can just be. This is a conversation I've had with family members and friends. Sometimes it's just exploring something new in your own city,
Yeah, definitely,
something that
definitely.
you haven't done, or
Right.
say if if you're in a town and they have a Mexican festival or a Greek festival or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, go
Right.
and that's might be the closest that you get to it,
Right.
or
Right.
literally,
Exactly.
and
Like,
go and get something to eat, and then later on maybe you'll actually go. There are other ways to explore, even if for whatever reason you can't travel. So that's just
yeah, it's
to
about leaving your bubble, and I think that's a great way to like explore something else in your town. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. One more that I'm good at. I'm good at volunteering. How important is it for us to serve others?
Yes, it's very important. Again, it's like getting yourself out of yourself, right? Like you're giving to others, and oftentimes when you're giving to others, you can also find it healing, and it reminds you about like humanity and how we're all connected as people, and so it's a great way to like spend your time and nourish your soul.
Absolutely, absolutely. One, and this actually I kind of already touched on because to me they go hand in hand. Communicating your needs and asking for help. To me, they kind of go hand in hand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's
Right.
one.
It's like you gotta know your needs, and then you gotta ask for help. Well, Black women, we tend to like to do things ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I think asking for help is again asking people is allowing people to be able to help you and help you with whatever you need and give them the chance to actually be helpful. So
Mhm. Right. And I just think, and you may have even said this, we show up for everybody else, giving people a chance to show up for you.
yes, exactly.
And I'm not going to say the person, but there's someone that I know who's probably watching. So she will know who I'm talking about. Does that. I mean, she's very giving,
Mm.
giving, and then when someone does something for her, it's like, oh, they didn't have to do. I'm like, you better enjoy that. Say thank you, and
Right.
keep.
I mean, well, when receiving gifts or help, often sometimes there's a level of self worth in there that might be off because sometimes we feel like we don't deserve it.
Mm,
And so that's why I say practice asking for help because then you begin to really believe, like, yeah, I do deserve help. Yeah, I do require some people to step in, and give me some things. Like, yeah, you do
mm,
deserve that.
And it's like, especially, I mean, we all do deserve it, but for that person who is a heavy giver, it's like, oh yeah, you deserve to get something, and yes,
Hmm.
you give and you receive,
Hmm.
and it's a blessing to the person who's giving to you. So just
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
it. And don't
Exactly.
complain about it. Oh, why?
Exactly.
Don't do that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Last but not, this is going to be the very last one
Mhm.
that I struggle with, and I'm sure that there are others that do as well, as part of their self care, is choosing to let love in.
Yeah. I mean, that can be a hard one again that deals with like self worth and, self esteem and feeling like we don't deserve it. I mean, if we just look at the beauty standards, especially around our society, it's very Eurocentric, it's very white, it's very straight hair, certain body types, even though certain people are trying to hijack our body types, but
Well,
it's, yeah, another conversation. But so, we're often made to feel like as Black women, like we're the second choice. So sometimes you can create walls. I know I definitely had in the past. I had created walls around it because I was just like, well, I'm a dark skinned Black woman. Like no one's really checking for me. Like it doesn't matter. Like, so I'm just not gonna, I'm not even gonna even give love a chance. But it's important to let love in because, we're all human beings and we all have lovely souls and we all want to be loved. And, it's very scary because when you're letting love in, you're being vulnerable, and sometimes vulnerability can be seen as weak, but it's not. It's definitely a strength because allowing people to, love on you and love around you. It just really just means that you are really opening yourself and your soul up to what this world has for you. So.
Well, that is it. Thank you so much. And I gave away one book. I have
Yeah.
two more, so I will figure out what to do with the rest.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people are shy. So
Someone did leave a comment, but she didn't hashtag it.
Oh, that's my best friend. So, so she'll be good. She know I got her. So but yes, I really do appreciate you coming in and sharing with us this evening, Dara. I do, for those, even if you didn't win or didn't put your name in so you could win, I still would suggest picking up a copy of the book because there are just so many wonderful things in here, ways that we can practice self-care, because it's just important that we take care of ourselves. And once again, Dara does a good job of breaking it down and making it real and making it resonate with us.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I thank you for your time.
Thank
What else
you.
do you have coming up soon, just so we can stay in touch with you?
Just follow me on social media. Yeah. I will always announce things. Instagram, I'm on TikTok. But I will always announce what I'm doing next. And there will be another book. So when that time comes.
Okay. Well, we got the connection. In the same vein or something totally different?
Okay, definitely going to be for Black women. Okay.
So. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to do the announcement for next week. So I'm going to let you go so you can go and practice some self-care, get some rest.
Wonderful. It was so wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice talking to you, and you have a good one. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me again for this wonderful conversation with Oludara Adeeyo. Please, as I mentioned, go ahead and pick up a copy of the book since you didn't want to win it. But that's okay. I understand. So just to give you, next week, we will have a very special guest coming on to join us. And that is going to be Christopher, the Plant Queen Griffin, author of You Grow Girl, on next Thursday at 8:00 p.m. He is the author of this wonderful book, which I already have a copy of here. And one of the things is actually one of the self-care methods that is in Oludara's book is talking about having plants in your home and all the benefits of plants. So this is what this book is all about. He's going to talk to us about things, how we can work with the stuff that we've got. If you've been wanting to kill your plants, how to figure out what the best first plant to own, just different things like that. So I really hope that you can join us next week as we talk about this beautiful book and get a chance to learn how we can help our gardens to grow. So once again, as always, I thank you for being here with me. I thank you for taking some time out of your evening, or if you're watching this in the replay, whatever time of day that you choose to watch, I thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. And in the meantime, between time, continue to live well, sister. Have a great one. Bye-bye.